All right, guys, in this video, I'll cover the Bitcoin and crypto world. I will still nevertheless start with the general markets, which I covered in one of my previous videos anyway. But long story short, crypto follows the general market. So you have to watch the stock market, which is also dependent on other factors like the dollar and interest rates. So you have to watch several of the other stocks. But general market, SPY, NASDAQ down, Russell. So let's look at the SPY. Friday was a horrible day for all markets. The SPY, I think, has 4% downside until its next ascending support. Okay, I'm going to do very short-term based trading here. I mean, I do think long-term we go down, test the lows, and actually make new lows because I think we're in a recession. The European markets are toast. The debt problem is huge. Inflation is real. The war, the energy, etc., etc. So, and technically also we're in a bear market and a down trend. So the trend is your friend and the fundamentals suggest lower. So markets down. I think next week SPY goes to test its ascending support. That requires a 4% drop. That can be done in 2 days. NASDAQ, very similar, actually less of a drop. I tried it in my last video. It's just 2 or 3%. It could undershoot. You know, if the SPY is going to go down 3%, NASDAQ could do 4%. So it could just go a bit lower, but find sort of support below this ascending line because these indexes just sort of influence each other. The Dow also, I think, like the NASDAQ, bit of a 3-4% move until it's ascending line. So I think we get there. We might go sideways, but by the end of the week, I think we will have at least tested this ascending support. And the Russell also, although that's a 6% drop. So I don't know if we'll go all the way down, but that's the general direction I predict next week. The VIX, by the way, which I haven't really covered before, this downtrend breakout was so obvious, but that will also go up with the markets going down. It could test its old sort of previous support here. I do feel like it could go and test 30 or just underneath 30, with the sort of 35 to 40 being massive resistance. We had problems taking out 35. I remember the markets were going down and the VIX was just not going up. So that was a bit of a signal in the past. But 35 and higher is good sell zone. But if we start taking out 40, wow, it's March 2020 style, which actually, if the VIX is in the high 35s, the markets probably are testing their lows. But anyway, that's what I see happening. I see the markets going down to test out ascending support. I see the VIX continuing to go a bit higher. And in the crypto world, the Bitcoin, as we all know, has been pretty weak for quite some time. It was at some point outperforming the market, but then when the SPY, when all the general markets bounced like, I don't know, 15%, Bitcoin didn't do much. You know, it was green, but it wasn't able to take out this previous, you can see this trend line, this previous support. It was just hitting its head on 25,000, strong resistance. And it didn't surprise me that it started to go lower. And then when the market started to go lower, I mean, this, you know, this was the path of least resistance and the most obvious one. So down it went. Now it's the weekend, so it's not going to move too much. I do think we might go down to 19,000 Sunday night / Monday morning. And if the markets just continue, as I think they will, because the close was horrible, it was closing at low of day. If on Monday we keep going lower, I think if we're not at 19,000 already, we could start testing. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but you know, 17,500. And I think in these markets, even if you're a hodler, and not me long term, yeah, sure, Bitcoin, I'd love to buy more. Well, I don't have any Bitcoin, but I own a Bitcoin miner HIVE, but I lightened my position when it started to move into 25K. But the point is, I would love to buy Bitcoin lower, a lot of it, a lot of Bitcoin associated stocks, especially. But I think if you hold Bitcoin, you've got to trade the ranges. You know, if you want to buy 19,000, maybe sell 20 if it bounces. But the point is, I think this will go and test its lows pretty quickly next week. It's not much. Well, actually, it's a bit of a move from here, maybe 15, 12, 13%, which is not much in the crypto world. I mean, it can do that in one day, to be honest. But I think we go test 19,000. and go sideways a bit Sunday night, Monday morning, and then maybe straight away at 17,000, and then we'll probably hold that or have a little flush underneath and then a nice spike back up, and people then get bullish. But if you zoom out, I feel like it's one of the assets that's going to get washed out the first, and then you'll have your real bounce in the markets, and then this will be the best performing asset again. But I feel like this will be the first one to go really low, capitulate, and what you want to see is you want to see Bitcoin not go lower or have green days when the market's down 2%. That's when you know, okay, the bottom might be in. But I still feel like we need a real capitulation V bounce, because this isn't good enough. This is just sideways, very weak, and then the markets go down and this goes straight away down. So it wasn't participating on the rally up, but it is on the way down. So we still need some washout. That's Bitcoin. I'm not going to cover all these crypto coins that I follow. Ethereum was obviously a bit stronger because of its own news, but you know, head and shoulders, I think we're going to go down. Let's say Bitcoin goes down to test its 17,500 support, last support. That'll probably equate to Ethereum being at probably a little higher than its old low. So maybe let's say 1,250. Yeah, it might take a few extra days for Ethereum to test its lows. So, but if Bitcoin starts flushing 17,500 and going down, and I think, by the way, support will be 13, 14K. These old, let's just get rid of that. This old sort of support zone, resistance. So between 12 and 13, I think 12 and 14 even, but I think it will take out 14 and go 13. I think you start buying here. I'd machine gun my way into it. So 14,000 and a bit, buy a little bit. And I wouldn't buy Bitcoin, by the way. I'd buy the miners, but I would judge my entry on when Bitcoin is around here. So just above 14,000, I'd probably buy a little bit of HIVE, one of my favorite crypto miners. And if it keeps going lower, just watch it, and then a little bit more of an entry, like 10% in here, 10% in there, and then maybe 20% here, because I really feel like 12,000 should be strong. But it would depend on the markets, it would depend on the dollar, it would depend on interest rates, which I haven't gone through in this video, but I went through in my last video I just recorded earlier. So yeah, if you've got Bitcoin taking out 17,500 and starting to rush down to the 14K and below, I think Ethereum by then will be testing 1,000 and maybe even lower. I think you'll have like a Bitcoin minus 8% day and Ethereum minus 15, you know, where Bitcoin dominance is sort of showing a bit of strength, etc., etc. I'm not going to cover all the coins. What I do like to cover are the crypto stocks. So I said I would buy some HIVE. I own some HIVE. I sold the pop-up here. I mean, this was pretty obvious resistance. I was judging it by the market rather than Bitcoin, actually. But this was really outperforming. This went up basically 100%, more than 100%. It was just under 3 and it went more than 7. So I think this will, yeah, you know, like everything else, like the markets, like Bitcoin, I think it will go lower, test sort of mid 3s, low 3s, and then flush. But I'll probably be buying just above 3, at least what I sold here. And then if we flush to new lows in the HIVE with Bitcoin in free fall underneath 17,500, I'll be waiting for 14K-ish on Bitcoin, but I'd also be zooming in on this part of the HIVE chart to see where do I think it's a buy. And by then it would have taken out 3, which is pretty strong support. And then I'd say 220. You know, 220, I'd be buying a little bit here. Again, it depends what Bitcoin's doing, the market's doing, but I'm buying all this because I think it's a good company fundamentally and it can outlast a lot. And I think Bitcoin long term does go up. So for me, I'm nibbling in, and probably once it gets to sort of $1, I'd probably be going in quite hard actually. But I'd be giving myself a bit of room between each buy. So yeah, I mean, look at that. Just that move there is 50%. This has crazy returns, and it's actually hit. Well, it had a reverse split, but I think it was $7 because I was owning it up here into this. Sold, bought, sold. And then I was all out by $3. Now they did their reverse split. I don't know where that was. I remember selling here thinking I better not have hit the low, and then thankfully went down, bought this, sold that. Now I'm just holding a very light amount. I want it to go lower. I think it'll go lower. Buy a bit here and then just buy into the flush, machine gun style, just sort of little hits here, 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 etc. That's HIVE. That's my favorite one, but I do follow these. This is my crypto mining sector, although they might not all be mines. MicroStrategy, same sort of chart pattern. I think it'll go low with the markets, with the cryptocurrencies also. A lot of people watch this with Michael Saylor being the main character. 30% drop can easily happen in a week, so that could easily see itself testing its lows. Coinbase, even weaker. I remember MicroStrategy was actually one of the strongest ones if you compare to the other charts. I mean, again, 30%, but this could easily test its lows next week. And then again, it depends on the SPY, interest rates, and Bitcoin. Marathon, one of the better companies fundamentally, I think. That has a ways to go before it tests its lows. This had good news. It had a nice bounce. So this is a good company. I might be buying a bit of Mara. All I own is HIVE and a very little amount. And I was thinking, instead of going too much in HIVE, sort of spreading it with Mara, a bit of RIOT, and then maybe even Bitcoin itself. HUT, a nice pop up here. Been following it a little bit more recently. Very similar to HIVE. So if it takes this old low, I'll be looking to add a bit of this, again, depending on the main influences. Bit farms, I mean, they look identical, but look at these crazy moves. Just so much money you can make. I usually put 2 to 4% of my portfolio in one stock maximum. And if I'm trading a sector, I'm spreading it amongst stocks. And that's something I haven't done with the crypto miners. I've been very loyal to HIVE because I follow the CEO, Frank Holmes, a little bit because of the gold and silver space. He was into that. I just know more about it, and it's a chart I'm used to and can trade quite well. So why change something if it works? But if I'm trying to get into the crypto mining sphere heavily, I can't go sort of 10, 20K into one stock. It's a bit too much for me. I prefer to spread it with like 4K in 5 stocks. So yeah, that's what I think about crypto mining, and they really depend on the stock market even more than the coins because they're stocks. So I'd have to watch the SPY, the Nasdaq, the 2-year, the 10-year, the dollar index, watch all those charts at the same time, and then obviously Bitcoin, and that's how I would judge my entry. So I might buy a little bit down here if all the stocks go down here. I will buy down there. I know I will. But knowing or thinking that it will keep going lower. It's just me trying to build my position, and it won't be high. It will probably be Mara also, sort of spreading myself a bit for a long-term hold, and Bitcoin going all the way back up and HIVE going all the way back up. I think a lot of people dream about the type of returns you can get from the lows. I mean, look at that, 3,000%. That's totally retirable stuff. So it's not going to happen in one candle, but it could happen in 1 or 2 years. So yeah, that's my summary of the crypto miners and the crypto world. Yeah, please comment, like, subscribe, etc. Thank you.